For 10 years in China, my job had been to be the dependable white villain. I played a American war negotiator.
别以为我不懂，在你们文化中，坐北朝南才是真正的坐北。
A drowning Brit. An Italian. You know, you guys in the West always say that China has this social credit system. I wish they did. I've shot that many patriotic movies. I've died on screen for China. Can I get some credit points, guys? At least a gift card? But it turns out that basing your entire career on being this white face is the most easy thing to be replaced by AI. I had a crazy talk with one of my longest clients out here, a director and a friend, and he showed me on his laptop. He's like, this is the kind of stuff we shot together. I can just change the face, I can change the background in a second. And one, rude, but fair. And I can see why. It's as good as us. It understands Chinese perfectly, so why not use that? I get it. And it just seems like my time here has it's run its course a little bit. And ironically, when I came out here, my rule was, like, instead of the floor is lava, the floor is English teaching. And now, can somebody give me an English teaching job? Because it turns out that whole career, that whole industry is tanked. Why I came out here does not reflect very well on me, but I got a British Council Scholarship. I'm actually from Northern Ireland. I don't really identify as being British, but I considered it reparations. I took the money, I came, and I felt it was really weird. I looked around at my classmates and they looked at, yeah, China's convenient, China's this, China's that. And then one by one, I watched them all leave and no one else stayed. And I got this, you know, scholarship at the top university in China. I say that not to flex, but just to say, these were the opportunities for just giving random honkies out here, right? And this was this propaganda course. It was called Experience China. And they were like, look, you know, this is, you know, our economy, this, our economy, that. And what they persuaded me of, yes, their power, but their insecurity. And I noticed, damn, this is a country that cares too much what white people think. And there's opportunities in being a bridge between China and the rest of the world. So that's partly why I stayed. And China turned me into a man-child. I can't blame China, right? Clearly that was a bit of a weakness on my part. But the fact is, you will see video talking about how, oh, China, you know, it's so cheap, it's so this, it's so whatever. But there's a cost to that. One is the economic cost, is that there's a bunch of people who are working for cheap. And that's hard for these guys. The other cost is all those skills that I'd be learning back home. How to drive? No, I just take Uber. How to cook? I just order delivery here. And it's so cheap and it's so intoxicating. A bit like those producers using AI. It is the curse of convenience which kind of traps you. And then you think, could I go home? Could I do anything else? No, I don't think so. I don't think I could. You know, I wanted to be an actor, right? And I managed to do that here for these very gray area jobs. Am I willing now to go and try that from scratch in London? Try flat sharing with some randomers in some place with mold on the edge of, not to be entirely panicking about the UK, but that's roughly what it's like from what I've heard. And or do these grey area gigs out here. One, patriotic films, you know. I think my family's a bit ashamed of me that I do this kind of stuff, but I think America has Top Gun. I don't know if that's all right. But I always think I play the foil in these Chinese movies, but I wonder, I'm part of this really patriotic movement. Where's that gonna go? And if things take a turn, will I feel responsible? If I watch something on TV, some news, and then I think, I was part of a marketing program for that. I was part of what made people on the ground fine with what people are doing. How will I feel about that? You know, or is it my fault? And does it even matter that I consider when I shoot these films, I'm trying to bring art to it. I'm trying to talk about a time in history, which yes, was kind of fucked. Should America have been in the Korea War? I don't think so. Does that mean that Americans are bad now? No, absolutely. But does my good intentions matter if a member of the audience watches the movie and then it buys into whatever narrative they believed anyway? Am I responsible for that? I don't know. What is the point in making movies that I don't even watch myself? Kind of movies which pop up on an airplane and I'll be like, oh good, my part came up in the first 5 minutes. No, I don't have to watch the rest of it. I was recently in a patriotic movie about, you know, the Japanese what Japan did during the Second World War, and a friend messaged me that the movie had enraged her so much that she wanted to do violence against a certain section of people. God, like, what do you even say to that? Can I call them out? I know I would be cancelled here, but that's not something I particularly endorse. So it's just this really grey area, and it's in between. A lot of what I end up falling into is some of the dirty work that they want foreigners to do out here, which is promote gambling apps. Look, nobody's forcing me to do these jobs. I could just not. I could just be an English teacher, right? I'm not going to hide behind that. But one time I spent 3 months being a live streamer for some coin game. It was like, oh, I won 10,000 coins, jackpot thing. And that was one of those what are you doing for life things. I'd love to say that I quit. I'd love to say that, I thought, no, this is morally not okay. They fired me after 3 months because they thought, 朋友，我在拍视频，可以声音小点，可以吗？谢谢。But I wish I could say it was a moral conundrum, but they just said, you're not actually bringing enough downloads. I'd actually asked my family at the time, like, could you just like download the app? Could you just download it? They're like, no, we don't like the fact you're promoting a gambling app. And I would tell myself, well, they're for coins. They're not anybody gambling for real money, so it's okay. But it's still kind of shitty, isn't it? But the thing which has trapped me so much is this sentence. I can work in acting for one day and it will pay for my rent for the month. And that is just a intoxicating mathematical fact, which means I put up with a lot of stuff here. I put up with the fact that I am disconnected with the people around me. Back home, there was a time when I would think, I'm a funny person. Out here, of course, I'm not blaming them, different sense of humor, but humor was my way to connect with people. I can't even do that right now. They don't get my jokes. I'm not funny in Chinese at all. And all the connections which I've lost from back home, people never talk about the cost of being an expat, which is also on me. The friends, hi Joe, if you're watching this, that I just didn't reply to. I just didn't know, like, what are you doing? I don't know how to, what can I say? How can I relate to folk when I'm doing all this weird shit out here? If they've moved on, they've married or whatever, and I'm just like Peter Panning it out here, right? And then I just feel really embarrassed that, oh yeah, I'm just shooting these kind of grey area gambling apps and like patriotic content, and they've like building lives and stuff, and I've just built this kind of sandcastle thing, which is kind of quirky and kind of cool, but I've just been replaced by AI. Here's what I know my movie career is kind of fucked. I went recently to redub myself. They'd actually used AI to create a reference for my voice. And then I turned up and I tried it. It was this line where I say like, that is an order. They asked me to do it on spot. They said, we actually prefer the AI voice take of what you did there. So I'm not even getting the gig of my own voice, right? I can't even be as good as AI for my own voice. So what chance do I have for actual other roles? The one bit of solace amongst all my self-indulgent complaining is I have a social media following that I made from posting about these patriotic movies, and that's now opening doors. Yeah. So I turn up and say, hey guys, I shot this movie about China good. Can I shoot a video with you? And that opened doors. I got into a robotics lab and I asked them, straight to her face, are you afraid of the robots you're building here? What is this for? How is China really doing? I infiltrated a Chinese pickup artist, like a seduction camp, right? I've done all this stuff. I realized that I'm in this gray area in China, so I'm just gonna take you guys with me. And I call it Red Flags Everywhere. That's my series. I don't know if anybody's gonna like it, or maybe I'm just gonna have to go back to English teaching.